I think the first thing is getting really flexible technology platforms that really utilise data in the right way, so we fully understand our customer base. When you see all of the various other strategies around product, around stock, around digital, around merchandising, around our product strategy in terms of what we want where, the store strategy. My job and my team's job is to enable those business strategies in the most efficient, most engaging way, building our AI ecosystem. There's multiple building blocks to that. At the heart, it's around data. The human in the loop is absolutely key. We need to train people up within the business. If they're going to start using agentic AI and asking it questions, how do we train them to ask the right questions to get the answers that are right for the business?
Standing on Mindera's Yellow Box in this episode is Ross Beaumont, Director of Product and Technology at iconic retailer Selfridges. Ross reveals all to Mindera's Phill Gillespie about his role, Selfridges' technology strategy from data to AI, giving back, and the importance of trusted partnerships.
Hello and welcome to Mindera Yellow Box. I'm Phill Gillespie and with me is Ross Beaumont. Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone, tell us who you are and who you work with?
I am the Director of Product and Tech at Selfridges, a venerable old luxury retailer that operates out of 3 of our cities in the UK. So we've obviously got the big Oxford Street store, we've also got one in Birmingham and 2 in Manchester, and we have a worldwide web offer in terms of we deliver all around the world. In terms of my backstory, well, I actually started off many years ago. My degree is in computer and control systems engineering. So it's probably the longest title of a degree you could possibly get. And after that, I went to work 6 years on nuclear power stations.
Wow, that's a little bit different.
So if you remember the Ready Brek kids from the 1970s and 80s, I still glow in the dark. I still glow in the dark. After doing that, I moved into telecoms, all on the kind of IT and project kind of management side. Building satellites for shipping companies and actually military applications. After doing that, then a bit of a shift, I then moved into banking with a company that's now not in existence called Abbey National. After Abbey National, I then had my first foray into retail. And this was back in the year 2000, where I then joined Argos, which was a catalogue retailer, but also a big online presence and big store presence. I was there for 11 and a half years. And to be honest with you, from a retail perspective, I've never looked back. I love retail. Cool. No 2 days are ever the same. Customer demands are always shifting. You have to respond, but you also need to get ahead of the game. So you have to try and predict how the customer is going to react. So after Argos, it was ASOS, so it's purely online. And then after a couple of years, I went to John Lewis. And then I went to Sainsbury's. And my job there for the first couple of years was to actually integrate 2 businesses, so the Sainsbury's business and the Argos business. I was there for 5 years, and then 4 years ago I joined Selfridges, where I was head of tech for what we called source and supply, which was all of the buying, merchandising, logistics and supply chain. And then just over a year ago I was promoted into the Director of Product and Tech. So I now look after all of the technology function, everything from architecture all the way through to support, platforms, engineering, cybersecurity, infosec, software engineering, quality engineering, delivery, and obviously product management, where we brought those 2 things together. So it's been a long and varied career, I would say.
Very different from those beginnings in nuclear power, right way through to
all the way through.
Very high-end fashion. What are you seeing as the trends that are happening now going into 2026 and 2027 that are relevant both for retail, for fashion, and especially for high-end retail?
Yeah, I would say that high-end retail is probably at a challenging point at the minute. Yeah, I think for a whole host of reasons. We've got things like cost of living, we've got tariffs, we've got the political situation at the moment, which makes it a bit tougher. So generally, people have got less money in their pockets. So we've got to make sure that luxury stays really, really relevant to people. I think the other big challenge that we've seen probably over the last 12 to 18 months is you've got the rise of AI, so ChatGPT. So people are using that as a personal assistant, and they're searching for products using that now rather than just going to our website or somebody else's.
Yeah.
You've even got the likes of Rolex now that have their own YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
And YouTube has now overtaken ITV as basically a media outlet now. And you've got TikTok and the rise of social media. So I would say the number of kind of touch points that you could have with the customer have exploded. So trying to make sure that you stay on top of those kind of trends, getting your message out there. And sometimes your message needs to be slightly different and tailored to the audience for different social media.
Your answer consisted of the words Rolex and TikTok.
Indeed.
A few words away from each other.
Yeah.
Those don't usually, in my head anyway, don't usually go together.
Absolutely. I mean, who would have thought that Rolex would have a YouTube channel? But at the same time, they control the content that's on there. So they've got ultimate control over their own brand and the way it's represented. So multiple new touch points that are coming out. So how do you talk to those different customers? Different social media platforms seem to apply to different age demographics. So younger generation on TikTok, Meta, or Facebook as I still call it, the demographics there are 40 plus.
Yeah.
So the way in which you talk to people and what they're looking for from a luxury retailer might be slightly different. So I think that communication to the customer has become more difficult as well. So all of these challenges are ones that we're facing on a daily basis, really.
You've got these challenges of communicating, you've got these challenges of engaging with a wide range of audiences. How does that all merge together into your role of director in product and tech and serving these multiple different customers, both internal customers and external customers?
It's a great question. I think the first thing is getting really flexible technology platforms that really utilize data in the right way. So we fully understand our customer base, what's important to them, and trying to get it to the most personal level we possibly can. So for example, when Phill Gillespie looks at, the mobile app, and Ross Beaumont looks at the mobile app, you want it to look and feel a bit different.
Yeah, you want to have that personalization. Yeah.
There's got to have that personalization. So, and that all depends on the data. So what are your likes, dislikes? What are the life events that are coming up? What are the brands that you really like? What's your purchase history? So we can actually curate the product to you in the right way. So it feels a much more personal experience. I think the other thing that we've done, and Mindera have been instrumental in this, is the launch of our next iteration of our loyalty program called Unlocked. Yeah, it's a very different type of loyalty scheme. So it's not buy one, get one free. It's not if you buy these things, you get a voucher or you get 10% off. It's much more experiential, and it's really focused on making sure that we give people something which is unexpected and different. A real example is, I know you're a Liverpool fan, as am I. We have different tiers within that loyalty scheme, and if you are, we call it a VVSP, a very, very Selfridges person, when we're organising a private dinner in the Anfield boot room, you may well get an invite to something like that. So it's something that you wouldn't normally expect to experience or get.
No, or receive from a retail. I look forward to my interview, to my invite, rather. It is an interesting mix because it sounds like trying to deliver those experiences, but almost blend the physical, the in-store presence. Because I mean, Oxford Street is, how big is Oxford Street? It's huge. I know that's your main one, but
it's somewhere close to 1 million square foot. It's our biggest stock holding location. And we have, the majority of our sales go through that one store. I think the key now, I'm not saying we're anywhere near it yet, is how do you really blend, and people have been wrestling with this for forever, I think, in retail, really since the boom of e-com back in the early 2000s, to be honest, which I think was probably one of the biggest shifts we've seen in retail. How do you blend that online experience and the store experience together? People have used omni-channel, all of these kind of phraseology that comes out. I think there's a real role here from a digital point of view and through things like mobile apps. When you have a store of that size, it's really difficult, if you're not familiar with the store, to come in and go, where do I find this thing?
Split over several buildings, several levels. It's just And multiple different concessions, different brands, different identities.
Exactly.
It's huge, yeah.
Exactly. And it can be overwhelming. Yeah. You know, you can literally spend a whole day in that store. You could go there for breakfast, you could do some shopping, you could have a personal shopping experience, you could have a go on a skateboard park on the first floor. You can go to the fourth floor and have some nice lunch, or to the Brasserie of Light. Then you can continue to shop, and then you can have dinner. You can literally spend got treatments and hairstyling, and you've got a cinema. All of this stuff is there. But when you go onto the website, within a couple of clicks, you can find the thing that you're looking for.
Sure.
How can you bring that kind of level of convenience to customers when they walk into the store? Find a blue polo top. Where can I find them? Oh, it's within these 5 brands. But if it knows you, it would say, okay, you're looking for a blue polo top, but you love this brand. Here's a store map. This is how you get there.
And knowing stock levels and things like that. Yeah, it's that blend, as you said, it's that how to blend that physical world and the digital world. We've been talking about the luxury experience in retail, and especially obviously from a Selfridges perspective, as it blends that physical and digital. What are the other things that are occupying your brain, and both your brain and your fellow leaders at Selfridges?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, part of it is because we're seeing some of these shifts in terms of just in the marketplace and how we want to respond to them. Basically, as a company, we've taken a bit of a step back and tried to redefine who we are and what we want to be. So basically, kind of refreshing the strategy. I can't say too much about it. It's all kind of under wraps. So it will launch in the new year. And it's kind of an evolution of the previous one, because previous one was a great one in terms of the customer one-to-one strategy. But that's going into a little bit more depth now. And I think what I'm seeing from a product and technology perspective is when you see all of the various other strategies around product, around stock, around digital, around merchandising, around our product strategy in terms of what we want, where the store strategy. Actually, it's probably the first time almost in my career where I've seen it down to that level of granularity, and then from a technology and a product perspective, we can respond to that.
Yeah.
Because my job and my team's job is to enable those business strategies in the most efficient, most engaging way, not just for our customer base, but also for our team members.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's really been occupying us at the moment, and a lot of work and a lot of effort has gone into that. The second one, and it kind of plays into that, and it's a huge topic, and that's the one around AI.
Yes.
I think I'm probably a technology leader that's facing into almost exactly the same challenges as technology leaders across the industry and in other industries, which is everybody says, I want some AI. And then you think, well, what do you want this AI to do? I don't know, but I just want some.
Yeah.
There's so much hype about it. So I think during the course of 2026, not only do we need to get more on the journey and actually utilising some of this technology, I think it's really important that people realise that a lot of this stuff is not new. So when we talk about automation, when we talk about machine learning,
yes,
they've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Basically now, everybody's advertising that it's got AI. You know, my watch, that wasn't AI a year ago, and I've had this 2 years. It's probably now they'll say it's AI. This table's probably got AI, as far as I'm concerned. Everybody's sticking about.
Just that AI washing, yes.
Absolutely. So there's something here about, there's a little bit of education about what it is and what it isn't, what it can be used for, what it shouldn't be used for. I also think there's some fear because people think it's going to take their jobs.
Yeah.
I think it was you actually, Phill, that I think you used the phrase, it's like a genius child. And I think that's absolutely right. It can do some brilliant things, but it can do some unexpected things. Yeah. It can be a bit unruly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the context behind it. So therefore, the human in the loop is absolutely key. So it needs guidance.
What's the plan looking forward?
Yeah, well, we've got a number of different work streams. So I think, one of them is there are some very specific use cases where you can use AI. And there's a couple of those that we're implementing. They're third-party systems that we're integrating with ours. And we treat them like any other technology solution, which is, okay, what's the business use case? Okay, is it something we could or should build ourselves, or is there something out there on the market? There's something out there on the market. Oh, it's got AI. actually, does that make it more efficient, et cetera, et cetera? Do we get better cost savings or revenue generation? So you've got that element to it.
So planning for this is the outcome I want to get to.
Absolutely.
What are the best options? And then go with that, ignoring whether it has AI or not.
It's fairly traditional product and tech ways of working. But then on top of that, you've got other things that the business wants to do. And quite a lot of these are not customer facing, but they're actually back of house, operational, etc. And absolutely fundamental to that is what I'm calling building our AI ecosystem. There's multiple building blocks to that. At the heart, it's around data. Making sure you've got good, clean, not overly structured, but structured data that is a single source of the truth. And making sure that you bring that together. And our job as products and tech is to democratize that data. But that's how you can start building the large language models, really understanding your customer, starting to do the predictive analytics. But it's all around data and getting the right level of ownership within the business for that data. Are we there yet with that? No, but we're well on the journey. So I think data is absolutely at its core. And when you look at the stats, only between 5 and 10% of AI projects are successful. When you actually look at it, it's because that kind of data foundation, that data strategy in parallel with the AI strategy hasn't been done. I think there's a number of other different elements which are slightly different around AI to technology where it was before when we implement it. I think we do need to increase our AI maturity. And what I mean by that is the skill sets within the business. This is around prompt engineering. It's about the skill sets that you need to implement it. It's around some of the different ways in which you might want to program these days. So AI generating some of the base code and then you reviewing it. I think the other thing is in Europe, if you look at the United States, if you look at China, their legislation is, I wouldn't say lax, but it's different. And it allows for much more experimentation, et cetera, et cetera. We've got the EU AI Act. So we have to be really careful about how we do it. So everything we do needs to be within that context. So people need to understand that. We need to understand when we implement these solutions, what that means from a change management perspective.
This is about people and processes, not just technology. This absolutely. Yeah.
So that's very different. So how do we bring people along on that change journey? I'll come on to security in a minute because that's probably my third point in terms of what's on my mind at the moment within retail. But it has to be secure. We're using huge amounts of data, and if we really want to know our customers, we're bound by GDPR and all of that kind of stuff. But it's got to be secure. And then we've got to train people up. And that's not just in product and tech. We need to train people up within the business. If they're going to start using agentic AI and asking it questions, if you ask a question one way, you'll get one answer. Ask it something slightly different, and you will get a different answer. So how do we train them to ask the right questions to get the answers that are right for the business? And then finally, we need change agents, and I mean physical humans in this case, so evangelists who are going to help us actually implement this. So those kind of 6-7 points, if you like, are really what we need to build for AI to be understood, for us to have the right skill set. Needs to be secure, follow the legislation, will land when we implement, but fundamentally underpinned by a data strategy aligned to our AI strategy.
How do you go about building a level of security, both in terms of the infrastructure, but also in terms of in everyone's mindset and being security first?
Yeah, a lot of it's education again. It's a little bit like the AI journey, where we need to make sure that everybody understands it's part of their responsibility, accountability.
It's not just the security department over
there.
No,
absolutely not. We can write all of the policies and we can train them out as much as you like, but if it's not in the forefront of your mind, that security is everybody's responsibility. So I think that's one aspect. The other one is making sure with all of our third parties that we understand what their kind of security posture is. And if it doesn't meet our very high standards, then we won't do business. With Selfridges and the way we're trying to take the product and tech function forward is that we might not want quite as many partners as we had before. So we can simplify our technical architecture, we can reduce the total cost of ownership, which are really good things to do. but actually having really trusted partners that we can work with, metaphorically hold hands as we're building new systems, but in a really, really safe way.
On the subject of trust, on the subject of partnership, how has your experience been with working with Mindera over the years?
I think the relationship is probably coming up to 4 years now.
That's probably about right, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that because I've literally just tipped across 4 years in Selfridges, and I've been here a couple of months, I think, when we first met Paul and Hettel, and we spun up the first squad. I think for about the first 6 to 9 months, it was challenging, I'll be honest. I wouldn't put that on Mindera, though. Selfridges ran things in a very, very traditional waterfall way in the past. And we had very few engineers within the business. We were just introducing agile ways of working and product management into the organisation.
Okay, that's good.
At that time. And we had a really, really small IT function. So go back 4 years, product was brand new. The tech function was really small, had traditionally just set contracts for third parties to implement stuff, and then then that project team would disband. And we were transitioning into completely new ways of working.
So a lot of teething troubles, a lot of learning.
So, how do we actually go about feeding those engineering teams with the user stories, etc., etc.? We were still getting to grips with that. And here we are 4 years later, where Mindera are our biggest partner in terms of software engineering. We have twice as many minders working on the Selfridges account as we do permanent engineers. So that should tell you something. When we first started off and, we were immature, I think you had to be patient with us, we had to be patient with you. You always get that kind of teething troubles at the beginning. Then I think we went into a period where effectively Mindera were used by Selfridges as a bit of a body shop, if I take it that way. And I actually remember a conversation with you a couple of years ago saying, really want you to tell us where we're doing stuff wrong, help us actually increase the maturity within our engineering capability. And I think from that point on, the relationship has transformed, even to the extent yesterday we were having, really good conversations around AI, data, mobile applications. And actually what was coming across in the Mindera team was, you should be further ahead in these areas than you are.
That challenge, that.
So it was actually having the confidence to challenge and go, we think you should be further ahead, and this is how we can help you get there. That's exactly the kind of relationship that we want. It's not about Selfridges knows everything and we're being precious. We can learn from Mindera, and we are learning from Mindera. And then I think the other thing is just the level of trust that's there. We know that you share the same ethics as us, and some of the stuff that you're doing outside of the kind of software engineering, testing, delivery management type stuff, when you start looking at the school and the foundation, etc., it's remarkable. And I think the Selfridges values and the Mindera values align really, really closely.
There've been a couple of projects over the last 2 years we've been working together. You and I have been working together. The one of which is, I know, is very close to your heart, that we've tried to move forward in terms of neurodiversity.
Yes, it is something that's close to my heart. I have a couple of nephews, one who's really severely autistic, and another one who's also on the autistic spectrum. And I see the challenges that they face, but also the families face. I think neurodiversity now is becoming much more spoken about. I think if you go back 10 years, it wasn't really talked about, it wasn't taken into account. And it's meant that we have left some incredibly talented, wonderful people behind and not given them the support. What I find remarkable about Mindera, and I know it's incredibly close to Paul and Hettel's heart, is the amount of time, the amount of effort, and the opportunities that Mindera are giving to people who most companies actually still, they may talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk with this stuff. And we've explored opportunities of joining squads, getting some real world experience. One thing about Selfridges, probably more than any other company that I have worked for, the way in which they care for their employees actually is second to none.
Excellent.
You know, they have a diversity board. It's part of our core values that you do treat everybody, regardless of whether they are neurodiverse, religion, race, colour, gender, etc. We will treat people with respect and give them the opportunities that they deserve. You're doing exactly the same thing with Mindera. So the two companies, from a values perspective, really do gel very, very well.
Last question to wrap this up. What is the future of technology? What are the future plans for Selfridges and Mindera working together that you can hint at looking forward into the future?
Well, first of all, I see the relationship continuing long into the future, so that's the first thing. Getting Mindera to help us on that AI journey, both from a data strategy point of view. You know, we've never written one before. Yeah. We need some help. So please help us out with that, aligned to our AI journey. We have plans next year to effectively build a data and AI squad. So it'll be the first time anything has ever been written onto a capital expenditure plan with a line item with money against it, which basically says we're going after this. Data and the AI maturity are two of the key areas that I think are going to be there. And we've got some conversations coming up with the business in a couple of key areas. So the rest of this year is building up a bit more of a roadmap about what the art of the possible is. And where we can help the business understand AI, what it can be used for, what it shouldn't be used for, and where they can get some real benefit out of it. Yeah. I think it's definitely one of those topics where if we sit back and wait for the business to come and say, I've got this problem, we'll miss out on so many opportunities. Yeah. So I see Selfridges in conjunction with Mindera going out and probably in the initial stages being the evangelists, actually, and bring people along on that journey. So that's definite. I think the other one is, with AI and with that data, it gives us a massive opportunity in terms of joining up digital and stores. With digital being, there's a phrase internally within the business at the moment, and I like it, with, you know, digital being the great navigator.
Okay, interesting. That sounds right, yeah.
And really bringing together the mobile experience, the desktop experience, and the in-store experience. So I think that's going to be a big journey, and we're really going to need your help in terms of tying those three things together. And I think the second one, which is less work-related, but we've already touched on it, is how Mindera and Selfridges can work in partnership around things like Neurodiversity Foundation, the Mindera School, and giving, I don't like the phrase, but underprivileged kids, or just kids who haven't been given a chance, to bring them through, to give them a real worthwhile, sense of self-worth is the first thing. And then actually, you know, there could be a career here for you. And some of the things that you're doing in that space are quite remarkable.
Ross, it's been delightful.
No, pleasure.
Chatting with you today. Thank you.
Looking
very much
forward to continuing a long journey with Mindera.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.